Hello and welcome to the Dragon Shed for another scroll saw project. Now this is actually the first real scroll sawing project I'm going to do with my new machine. So being the sensible person I am, I've decided to do really quite complicated work the first time out with a new machine, which is great. What I'm making is a set of dispensing storage devices for my best friend. She is very soon to be welcoming her second child, and her kitchen cupboards are a chocker mess of baby food pouches and pots and all that kind of thing. So in order to make her life a little easier, I've designed three storage and dispensing kind of boxes type thing. Yeah, if that makes sense. I'm going for two simple types. One is just kind of a stacked shelf with three shelves, and the other is a tower where you put new ones in the top and you can pull out the next one down. So yeah, that's the plan. So what I've done is I've made up my patterns. I will put some notes for the pattern making on my blog, because this is a storage solution for items that come in the same shape, essentially. The pattern I've got is creaky door. Yeah, the pattern I'm working with is completely depending on what the size of your item is to store. So I put notes up, I can't really put the full plans up. So yeah, what I do happen to need is some pieces I need 3 of, some I need 2 and some I need 1. So in the ultimate attempt to make this easier, I have layered my plywood. So here I've got 3 layers of plywood. This one actually has a cut out bit here that I use for another project. So I've got 3 layers and then 2 over here. So the bits that I need 3 of are here, and then the 2s, and then the empty space I'm actually going to be cutting into small squares for another project. So rather than having bits of offcut hanging about, I want to try and use up as much of the wood as possible so I don't have to keep storing the offcuts. I'm also using up some of my old offcuts as well to cut the squares. So I've got kind of a 3 in 2 layer, another 2 layer, and a single layer. So yeah, it's all pretty much straight cuts, which again on the scroll saw isn't easy. And what I've done is I've actually laid these together using carpet tape, so they should be fairly solid until I want to split them apart. At least that's the plan. So we shall see. my initial cutting is done, and I've just kind of taped these together just to see how they fit and if anything needs kind of trimming and whatnot. So I've clearly got on this one, this side on this piece and on the back really needs some work, so I've marked that one. I've got a little corner here that needs to come off, and the opening here needs to be slightly bigger. So considering I kind of threw myself at this and didn't really do a lot of extra planning, it's turned out quite well. I think this kind of open storage rack is fairly stable, just taped together, but I'm not sure if that's going to be any good over time. So what I actually built into the back here, this is the original template, I actually intended to put a back on, but what I want is to be able to put new stuff in at the top or new stuff in at the back, so you've got a circulation of packets and things. So what I'm going to do instead is just cut some little strips just to kind of cover the back section here where I've actually left a gap. I've left a space, so just there. That's also going to reinforce the back of the shelving slightly. So that's the next bit to do, and I've done a bit of measuring and worked out how much or how big these pieces need to be, but I don't need to make particularly anything else, and nothing here so far has been a failure, which is actually quite remarkable. This is a fairly big geometric puzzle, and this is the first time I've really kind of stretched the kind of slot fitting thing that I do. So aside from having some really bad cuts where I was fighting against the machine on 3 layers of ply, I think I've done quite well. So there's that sort of thing. And now I'm kind of working out how I'm going to decorate this, because I don't want bare wood particularly with food, but what I have got is some wrapping paper. Now this one is a foil covered holographic, which I think will be nice for kind of the front sides. This is a paper with dual colour, so green on one side and purple on the other. So I've got options there, and I've also got some brown packing paper. Now these all react really well to a spray varnish, so I can quite easily put them on and then give it a coat of spray varnish, and it will give them a nice clean finish. So I've cut out all my pieces and I dry fit them together, and I've made my changes to just kind of tweak things. I'm now working on the surface covering of these. Now this plywood doesn't really benefit from being sanded and finished in that way, so I'm just going to go with a paper wrap and then a good spray of varnish just to kind of protect everything. So most of these I've already done, but this one I put the paper on the wrong side to start with, so I've had to tear all that off and start on this side. What I'm doing is kind of the initial covering is going on the inside piece, inside of each piece. So then when I put the other side on, it's just a flat covering. It doesn't have all the fiddly bits to really do. So what I've done is I've left about an inch border around the brown paper on this one, and it's still a little damp from being stuck down this morning because I only realised it this morning, but it will dry back to its normal brown colour like these have. So yeah, I've trimmed around all the straight edges in large flaps, and all the curves have got kind of fingers. So I used a standard cheap PVA just to stick the surface, but I'm going to use a bit of Gorilla Glue for these bits, because the glue itself is going to slightly reinforce the paper and give it a bit more strength generally. You don't have to use different glues, but you can do all PVA. But these edges are going to be visible edges, so I want something a little bit stronger than just standard PVA on here. And number 3. still a little flimsy because they're only held on by tape. That is a fairly nice storage unit, and it's accessible from the back, so you can feed in from the back, completely open at the front, et voila. So now I'm going to undo all of this and pack these into a bag so I can actually take them to my friend's house on the train. So yeah, this is as far as I can go in the shed. All I'm going to do is wait for give these at least 24 hours to make sure all the paint, all the glue is dry, and then give the brown paper sides all a good spray of varnish, and that's all the finishing I'm going to do. So is that done? And I'll show you some pictures of the completed items filled with stuff in my friend's kitchen. So yeah, see you again next week.